These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. They counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day you will live, if you make it to 75. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here is a single jelly bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but quite a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you've got the first year of your life. Now for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years. 5,475 days. Which brings us to the threshold of adulthood, and at that moment, this is the time we have. And this is, on average, what we will do with that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days, and if we are lucky, some of the time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We will be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in Joburg. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities like chores and caring for our pets and shopping will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing or grooming and doing all bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days doing community activities like going to church, helping charity, and our kids' school plays. After we remove all these beans, this is what remains. This is the time we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making out, going on holidays, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing sport, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So the question has to be, what are you going to do with the rest of your life?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Life Group. You've just watched the same video that we have, and can leave us with a bunch of different responses. And Gaza, how do you feel after watching that video?
Yeah, Matt, it is, to be honest, it is a thought-provoking video. When you look at your life with that kind of perspective, it's sobering, you know, on the one hand. On the other hand, you know, if life could just be about more jelly beans, I think we'd all be in a good place. But really, there's two basic responses. I think the two groups of people we might find watching these videos, and the one and a half is guys going like, okay, well, you know, that's a bit daunting, intimidating, what's the point? The other half of people, other group of people might just go, man, I better savor every moment of jelly bean I get because I've only got so much, you know.
Yeah. I'm in the third group who looks at that and goes, geez, I wish I could just had some time to eat more jelly beans. But for real, like, talk us through those two groups of people and how it works.
Okay, cool. So the first group, they look at what they've been given. I think so often we compare ourselves to other people, and when we do that, we come up short, you know. So they might look and go, flip, like, I've only been dealt a whole bunch of, you know, yellow and blue jelly beans, and I'm a bit of a jelly bean fundi, and yellow and blue are my absolute worst colors. Like at school, I'd always try and trade them, even at a ratio of 3-for-1, for some green, black or red ones. But really, we look at ourselves and we measure ourselves and we go, look, I'm not the funniest guy, I'm not the smartest guy, I'm not the most athletic, I'm not the best looking. So why value what I've been given? And in a sense, we devalue what God's given us. And we look at it lightly and we go, you know what, I'm just going to get on with my life and live it. And this is what I've been given, you know. I'm going to get an education, get a job, get married, hopefully find some happiness along the way, and then just...
So people are almost checking out, like they're looking at their lives and going, well, what's the point, sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's the sense of really taking ownership and responsibility. This is my stuff. It's a bit much for them, so they just, you know, carry on living. So I think the second group are a bunch of us that we look at opportunities and we look at what we're going and we're going, man, this is flip, this is an adventure. And also I've only been given a fine amount of stuff, so I do have a group of my favorite jelly beans here. And we look at this stuff and we go, man, I got some amazing opportunities here, some red guys, some black jelly beans, some orange ones even. And we look at that stuff and we just try and cling to it and basically try and squeeze the most out of life. And so we actually really quite selfish with our opportunities, our time, our talent, our treasures, because we got to make the absolute most of what we've been given. And the thought of going, okay, you know, how do I use that finite amount of stuff I've got for God's glory? It's also quite challenging.
Yeah, sure. The thing that strikes me about this is a video that's made in 2013 or even 2014. But this question of what's the point of my life? How do I get the best out of it? How do I get to God? What happened? Like, why am I here?
The existential questions.
Yeah, you're a lot cleverer than me, so I just go the big, scary questions. But the point is this, like, they're not new questions. And so this video is looking to how do you actually find the purpose of your life? How do you make sure that you're not wasting your life? But it's not a new question. And in fact, the passage that you guys have read probably already at your life group or will read now from Acts chapter 17 is looking at these exact same questions. So the situation there is you've got a city, Athens, that's dedicated to like asking these big questions. So people would come in from outside of town and they'd come and sit and listen to lecture and they'd bounce every new idea they could. They'd look at every bit of entertainment, and people who'd traveled around the world would come back and go, this is what life could possibly be about. And it said that in that city there's just an idol to every god in the world, because these guys are so desperate to find out how to milk life for all it's worth, how to make every single jelly bean count. And they're asking these big questions. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Is there a God? And if there is a God, how do I get to him? And it's into that context that Paul comes to preach this amazing message that he preaches. And now, like Gaz has been saying, the same as we're sitting here today responding to a video like that, these guys were responding in different ways to what they'd heard in Athens. Some of them were going, hey, life's all about eating and drinking and being merry and milk every jelly bean for what it's worth because it's your life and your God. Other people were going, there is a God, but what we need to do is obey him so that he makes our jelly beans count. Other people still were going, well, what's the point of all the stuff? They just kind of checked out and they just sort of gave up on life. And so those questions that we got are exactly the same that guys back then had. So Paul comes in and he goes, let me talk to you about Jesus. And this God who's created everything and who holds it all together, he's actually given us breath and he's given us our lives and he's determined how many jelly beans we'll have. And he's placed us where we live in the time of history. And Paul goes, and the reason that he did that was so we would seek him out and find him, even though he's not very far away.
Really, what you're speaking about are questions that people have had for thousands of years, and we have them. And I think the awesome thing is that we get to ask these questions, we get to have this discussion. And as a life group now, you're going to actually turn to each other and have a discussion about your life. What's the purpose of it, and how do you bring glory to God in it? You're not trying to solve all the issues here. You're really just trying to take one step towards God and understanding what he's got for you. And if you get a little bit clearer about this by the end of the night, then that's awesome. We'll see you guys next week.
Enjoy.